hello. Come in. Come in. Welcome to our portrait shop over here. How are you doing today? You doing good? Oh, good, good. That's absolutely wonderful. Um, so I'm assuming you wanted a portrait today? Absolutely. I can totally do that for you. Yeah, I'm completely a professional. I've been running this shop for a very long time here, and we get all kinds of people that need portraits done. But I think by far our most popular portrait is an in memoriam portrait. Just people come in expecting that they're going to die. As you know, a lot of people here, they do get a little text message whenever they're about to die. And so they start to like make their plans, write their wills, that sort of thing. And then this is just one of the stops, right? And so we help zhuzh you up a little bit, make you look a little bit good, and then we do your portrait. I do a nice little sketch, which I'll then formalize later. But I'll have a nice little sketch for you. However, you do look a little bit interesting, right? Because you're not human, right? Yeah, I can see you're not really human. You are more of a concept, right? Yeah, you're sort of an entity that is a little bit terrifying to like behold. But you know what? I every day when I come into work, I expect to have a little bit of a challenge. On this other day, I was working with I was working with a man that truly did not know the amount of boogers that he had. And that was an assault on my well being. So, compared to that, I think you are in like a very good place, okay? Yeah, there's no need to feel anxious or worried about sort of stepping on my toes or anything. I am a professional. And if I do find anything wrong with you or anything wrong with this interaction, I'll do the most professional thing possible and complain about it to my boss and coworkers, when you're not around. Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll just pray to whatever God that will listen that you never show up again, okay? Absolutely. Okay, well, how about we get started. I always love to take some basic information, but it can get a little bit boring, right? And you are not a sort of typical person. Let's find a blank page here. So instead of just typical basic information like name and stuff, I can kind of, I just from looking at you, there's information's beaming into me, right? Like I already know that you are privacy. Yeah, and this is an memorial piece. So you feel like you got the text message that you're gonna die? Okay, yeah. Your sort of your strength has been waning, over the years. Yeah, since the dawn of the internet. I see. Totally, absolutely. So what I wanted to ask you is just a few questions here, just to sort of get an understanding as to how you want to be portrayed, right? So would you rather you be portrayed in your portrait as powerful or weak, solid, or a little bit ethereal, right? So like what on that these like spectrums, like where do you want to stand? Okay. Absolutely. I think that totally makes sense to me. Okay. And did you want to have a physical form? Did you want me to come up with a physical form for you? Sort of like an avatar of some kind to get you started? Sort of like a character creation sort of thing in in a video game or something. You're leaving it open. Okay. Well, I'll think about it. I'll do some thoughts and sort of brainstorming on that. That's totally fine. I would like to know though, once privacy, Mr. Sort of, Ms. What suffix, prefix would you like? It's not a suffix. Okay, just anything. It doesn't really bother you. Okay, well, Your Highness, privacy. I would like to ask you about, in particular, your what's it gonna look like when privacy is destroyed, right? Because I imagine that once you are dead, it's all all privacy is going to go out the window, right? So like right now we're sort of having like a private conversation, so wouldn't you say that like you sort of exist in the okay, I see. So it's less about sort of conversations that are had, because this isn't really private because there is like another person here, right? Yeah. Okay, I see. It's just those like singular moments by yourself is just going to not be by yourself anymore due to the fact that, there are cameras everywhere, people are posting online, and then there are people are taking other people's likenesses, throwing them into AI unethically, creating horrific things, and sort of using it for uh, all manner of different things that honestly I wouldn't know, but you do, right? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, yeah, absolutely. That was just like a personal question of mine. Okay, so with that, I wanted to get a few measurements of you, just so that I can sort of have a baseline to work with. You are constantly shifting, constantly changing. I'm going to need you to stop. I know it's not within your nature, but just please stop. It is a little uncomfortable. So if you do that, I will then go ahead and do just a few measurements, okay? Yeah, just a nice few measurements to get you to get a baseline, okay? So we're gonna start here. It seems like you're broken up into 3 different sections. If you were a human, that would be like head, torso, and like head, upper body, lower body, right? And you sort of, it seems like you're trying to mimic that format. Good on you, trying to blend in, sort of but it's really not working. So I'll do 3 measurements for each section, and jot those down, okay? So let's just do that here. Okay, so all right, so it's at a 10. Now you've shrunken it down to a 9, but all right, now you're growing it to 11 because you feel like you need to compensate. Now listen, don't do that. What feels natural to you, okay, for this like head-ish thing? Okay, shrink it down. Yep. Okay, so 5. 5 is definitely, 5 inches is totally fine and normal. Size doesn't matter, so it's how you use it. Okay. Now, next, let's do the upper body here. Now, depending on, I guess you didn't really grow up with gender, like a gender construct, right? Because if you were sort of more masculine, I would imagine that you would want like sort of a bigger chest or something. In like the more muscular sense, and then perhaps you'd want more of a like hourglass shape if you were in the more feminine, but you know what, that's very binary, but it is something that people do think about, which I don't love, but it's something to think about, especially if I want to create an avatar for you. Do you know what kind of you want? Okay, you want someone that kind of looks androgynous. I totally understand that. Okay, I could totally do that for you. Okay, so 17, is that good? Okay, 19 now. Again, take a breath. Here. Okay, one more time. Okay, yeah, just relax, let yourself go, just let your sort of ethereal nature take form in however it feels natural, okay? 34, okay, let's do that again. 34, okay, well that certainly is a little unnatural, but no, there's nothing to worry about, that's totally good. Okay, so 32. We can shave off a bit. Okay. Now let's do the lower body, okay? And so for this one, we're gonna have to do 2 separate measurements. Because you're ethereal, I imagine each like leg would be perhaps a bit not necessarily the same height, and because you're floating, I imagine it doesn't really matter, right? Like you wouldn't be hobbling around or anything. So Let's just go ahead. Okay. Pretty good. Okay. That's 24. And then over here, let's do that. I keep pushing into your body, so I'm very sorry. I know that's probably closer than you really wanted me to be, but I'm not meaning to do that. It's kind of easy. Okay, so 24 and 22. Not even, but that's totally... most people aren't actually even, and they just don't know. Yeah. You'd be surprised. Yeah, I go to a psychic, and he tells me all the time, just all of these different things about me that are just like not in alignment, and so I do have to pay him probably like $300 every few days just to make sure that he keeps me in alignment, and so, to be honest, I think that if you were not dying, I would suggest you go there perhaps to keep you in alignment. Maybe if you did that, then the internet wouldn't be so messed up. Yeah. Okay, so next, I'm just going to do a general width. So you have 3 sections, but your width tends to be the same. You're very tubular. So let's just, and I don't mean that in the historic sense of the word. I think tubular was used so long ago that at this point it's written in the history books, right? So let's just go ahead and get that around you. Yeah, if you could just duck a little bit. Oh, perfect. Absolutely perfect. You're doing a great job. Okay, and then just there. Okay. All right, 38 or 39. Don't suck in. Don't let it out. Let it out. Okay, 45. That's wonderful. Okay. So with these measurements, I am able to get a nice little baseline here to get started with the portrait, okay? So let's just go ahead here and start. I'm just going to do a nice little sketch here. And what this is going to do is create a really lovely baseline, okay? And so I'm not going to be adding too many features because you are pretty ethereal at this point. Your head shape is sort of a heart-ish head shape. I'm sort of imagining that because, privacy is all about self-love, right? And so let's just go ahead and do a nice sort of heart-shaped head. You don't really have eyes. I know you can see me because I feel seen, but you do not have eyes. So do you want me to add eyes? I can totally do that if you feel like it will sort of impress upon the people that are coming to your funeral. Who is coming to your funeral, by the way? Okay. Well, some of those aren't really people, right? That, but some are people. Okay, you've made some human friends, so let's just go ahead and add some eyes. Let's go ahead and do that. Do you want lashes? I think lashes would be nice. Yeah, I'll give you like a couple little lashes, lashes are androgynous. Everybody has lashes. And then I'll give you like a cute little smile. Okay, and then what we're going to do here is you did have a fairly small upper body. No, that's not right. You had like let's reference, shall we? That's right. You had 32 inches. So that is fairly large. It's not too big. But I will, in fact, do that. I'm being very sketchy here because you know what? You don't really want to feel like you're getting the final product right now. And this is, of course, not the portrait itself. This is just a sketch. And what we're going to do is determine what parts of the sketch or what parts of you do you want to show, right? Do you want like a full body piece in which like from head to toe? Or do you want something that's more like a focus on that like nice heart face, right? So with that, let's just... Do you want hair, by the way? Because I haven't given you any hair. Okay, yeah, I can give you... What? Okay, you're into sort of like a sort of... You said androgynous, right? What is androgynous hair? It really depends on the face, to be honest. But maybe I'll give you a lot of... I see a lot of androgynous people tend to have a sort of... What's the word I'm looking for here? Short hair, really. And I think it's just so that when long hair reads very feminine, and not, but you know, some people, some. I'm talking myself into a spiral here. I'm giving you short hair, okay? You're gonna have to live with that. There and then there, okay. And then in terms of the body, we got that, the upper torso. Let's say it ends here, and then we'll give you. You had pretty... Okay, you had uneven feet. I remember that. Everybody knows that you had uneven feet. Yeah. Oh, everybody knows. I'm so sorry to tell you that. That's why I kind of very subtly tried to say, like, hey, let's measure each one separately, you know? Okay, now did you want to look dapper? Okay, not really. You didn't really want to look dapper? I feel like... Okay, well, how about I just give you a pair of, like, pants, you know? And then some suspenders. Suspenders feel very... it's either incredibly homosexual or it's just... you know, just androgynous, right? And you don't really see many sort of like cisgender women wearing suspenders. But now that I say that, I have seen a few cisgender women wearing suspenders. So that isn't really true. But I think in portraits, right? I do think that if they're wearing suspenders and they're also wearing like a vest and then a jacket, but you're not wearing a vest and a jacket. And in fact, I don't think you want that, right? As privacy, I feel like, you know, you're ready to show it all, right? You're dying. So you're trying to remove the jacket and remove the vest. And so, you know, we'll just do that. Did you want to tell me sort of like how is it that you're dying? I see. Sort of with social media, all of the people that are like having children and then creating social media accounts for their children and then profiting off of their children and sort of creating a really horrible like work-life situation with their children where their children is now the breadwinner, you know, and suddenly like none of those children can actually have personal like privacy because, you know, you have the whole internet sort of watching them and expecting them to do a lot of different things. And I totally understand why that would sort of cause your death. To be honest, I do think that one of the things that brings me a lot of pain is watching those sort of family vlog channels. Oh my God. Let's not. Okay. Actually, I've never watched a family vlog. I've just heard about them from other people. So, you know, maybe they're great, you know, and maybe your death is just you know, God closes a door and opens a window sort of situation. Your death will lead to a new open window where suddenly instead of privacy, you have, I don't know, like everybody knows everybody, right? And suddenly like no one can hide anymore and no one can like, that doesn't sound very good, but you know, you get what I'm saying, right? Okay, so this looks, okay, so this is just sort of what I've got going right now. You know, it looks a little rough, but here's what I'm thinking, okay? I'm thinking that we just focus on this aspect right here, right? We don't need to worry about right here because this part's a little boring. If we focus right here, get a close-up shot, and then if we do something like here, let's do I'm going to do a little bit of a thumbnail for you, okay? So if we get like a little bit of, hold on. You'll get what I'm saying in a little bit, I promise. There we go. And then just add your hair here. And do that. There, you're getting it. Yeah. Absolutely. This is really coming together, actually. Okay, so I'm thinking if we do something like this down here, where if this ends up being your the actual portrait, right? This is sort of the format of the portrait. This is just sort of a reference guide for me. And then I'm able to add a lot more detail and add back some of that etherealness and give you this sort of androgynous look that you're really asking for. I think that would be very helpful. But I do think that I want to add just a few sort of, objects on the bottom here. So if you could tell me just a few objects that you think are very important to you, right? Okay, yeah. So a Labubu, okay, I guess I can do that. A Labubu would be totally fine. And okay, and a pop figurine, okay. And all right, and then you want sort of a, what do pop figurines look like? I've actually never owned one. Okay, maybe something like that. Just like having a few well, you can't really see that. Let me make that a little bit. My apologies. I know your eyesight, despite the fact that you are privacy, your eyesight is not that great. So let's just make sure and I am doing this a little bit rough and ready, but you know what? I'm always rough and ready. So just not to, here you go. So if you can see right here, we got some paraphernalia here, and it creates a nice little, instead of flowers, right? You just have like some nice objects here for you. Yeah? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to put that order in for you. It will take a little bit of time for that to come, so you will be dead, so you won't be able to approve it. So we will contact your next of kin to be able to sort of approve it. And of course, because you came in here today, they won't be able to like disagree with us. So that will be that in that respect. So if you have any other questions, you can ask me right now, or forever hold your peace. And I'll see you never, because you are going to die and we are all going to lose our privacy. All right. Okay then.